Hey everybody, live to you from the Hyundai i10. It's been a great little car. But yeah, today I want to talk about something I find really interesting. Whenever you hear of a friend or a family member who's talking about starting a business, don't they always seem to all have the same train of thought, undercutting the competition? And you know, that's the main thing that they think is going to differentiate them, is they've got to undercut, they've got to be cheaper than the competition. And you know, that's definitely one strategy, but I think what a lot of people don't realize is that's only one strategy, and there are other strategies as well. So basically, when you want to start a business, or even if you have an existing business, it's very, very important to determine what your differentiating factor is. So on the one hand, yes, you can be cheaper than your competition, but on the other hand, the thing that's most often overlooked is you can actually choose and determine to be better than your competition, and that is a differentiating factor that is just as, if not more important than being cheaper. You see, normally retailers, wholesalers, and in fact pretty much anybody selling goods are going to adopt that first strategy. They're going to try and be cheaper than their competition. And the reason for that is, whether I go to your store and pay 10 Rand or the store down the road and pay 15 Rand, a can of Coke is still just a can of Coke. The only thing that they can really do to try and separate themselves from competition is to be cheaper. On the other hand though, when you're selling services, you have an opportunity, and in fact I think a responsibility, to be much, much better than your competitors. And the reason for that is, when you're selling services, what you're actually selling is your time. And time is the one truly finite resource that we as human beings have left. So in essence, what this means is that if you're currently getting 1,000 Rand an hour for your services, and you decide to drop your rate to 750 Rand because that's what the company down the road is charging, well, a couple of things are going to happen. Firstly, you're actually going to feel less inclined to work hard because you're getting paid less than you were before for doing the same amount of work. This is really huge. It's actually a much bigger deal than people realize. I mean, seriously, I've worked incredibly hard to get to where I am, and I know I've still got a long road to go. And if you start trying to cut my rate by like 25, 30, 50%, you best believe you're not going to get 100% of my service. And there's a very good reason for that. You see, if you start cutting my rate, that means that I've got to go out and start looking for even more clients to service in the same amount of limited time that I have available, just to make the same kind of living that I was making before you cut my rate. I've still got bills, I've still got a family to look after, I've still got aspirations and ambitions and goals and things that I'd like to achieve as well. So say for example, you bill at 1,000 Rand an hour and you work 40 billable hours a week. That means you're billing 40,000 Rand, okay, which is excellent. Now, what happens if you drop your rate across the board from 1,000 Rand an hour to 750 Rand an hour? All of a sudden you go from 40,000 to 30,000, all of these different expenses that you still need to pay with 25% less income. And the only place that 25% less income can actually come out of is your own pocket as a business owner. What that boils down to is, I need to go and find another 13 extra billable hours every week just to make ends meet the same as I was before. Not even to grow, not even to do better, just to be the same as I was before. And if I'm having to build that extra, already my focus is split. You may be paying a bit more with 1,000 Rand an hour, but you're actually getting more attention. You're getting a lot more for your money, paying that 1,000 Rand an hour instead of trying to cut my rate down. But what can you actually do about this as a service provider, as a young entrepreneur or a sole proprietor, you know, going out there trying to make it for themselves? Well, there's a couple of things I think that you absolutely must do. And number one, you've got to learn how to negotiate. On the one hand, you can't just roll over and drop your rate every time a client, you know, makes a little bit of noise about it. You can't just dig your heels in and absolutely point blank refuse to compromise. That's another quick way to lose clients as well. And the second thing, you've got to work 10, 20 times harder than any of your competitors. You've got to justify your rates. You've got to show your clients why you're worth every single cent that you charge, because you don't want them feeling remorse. You don't want them feeling like they've overpaid. If you can show your clients why you're worth every cent, they'll soon realize that they can pay second tier rates, but they're going to get second tier service. And if they want Rolls Royce service, they're going to have to be prepared to pay for that. And the third, and possibly one of the most important things that you can do to differentiate yourselves no matter what, is never ever stop learning. You want to be the absolute master of your craft. Doing that is how you'll truly learn to stand head and shoulders above your competition. It doesn't matter whether it's flipping burgers or an aircraft mechanic, or whether you're a chartered accountant, when you know more about anybody else about technique, strategy, mastering your craft, that is when you'll truly stand head and shoulders above your competition. I'll leave you with this last thought. My grandfather owned a very, very successful financial services business, which I think he retired in the late 90s. And he had this to say on pricing. He said, if the market is willing to pay a certain rate, then you charge that rate. Not above, but not below. Because when you start undercutting that rate, nobody wins. Undercutting rates is the quickest way to start a price war. And inevitably what ends up happening in the long term is, yeah, prices will drop and maybe consumers will be happy for a little while, but invariably people's service standards and service levels will drop as well when there's a price war. So even the customers don't win in the long run because everybody drops the ball.